Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Matthew Trainer podcast. I'd like to apologize for there not being a video on Monday. I was out on vacation, so the week before I pre-recorded the videos for Monday and Thursday. I recorded those before I left, and so those were uploaded and scheduled and all. And I didn't realize they'd be gone still on Monday, which I just didn't think about it, so there was no video on Monday. Anyways, it's Thursday, and so um, I apologize too for this video. Normally I have the studio and everything, and I'm recording, and I've got the microphone and everything. I just don't have that up today, so we're gonna do this anyways. But I saw this article posted on Facebook, I believe. Um, Father James or Twitter, Father James Martin, pardon, Father James Father James Martin urges Catholics to celebrate LGBT Pride Month. And you can't see if I had this recorded, I'd be putting everything in quotes like this article likes to do, which I completely agree with. But Father James Martin urges Catholics to celebrate LGBT quote unquote Pride Month. So, the Jesuit priest said the pro LGBT celebration affirms quote unquote human dignity and aligns with the Sacred Heart devotion, despite church teachings to the contrary. I like this part, despite church teaching to the contrary. Trent Horn has done a lot of different videos. I can't make this up. When I put this video up on here, when I was trying to look up Trent Horn, the two videos that came up were both about LGBT ideology, about Cardinal Radcliffe now, Father Radcliffe, Cardinal Radcliffe now, and in a video with Father Mike Schmidt, and so two LGBT videos. I thought that was quite funny. But Trent Horn has done several videos on James Martin, both about LGBT and not marriage, LGBT, all that stuff. And then Trent Horn has done a whole lot of videos on homosexuality and such. And I'd recommend you check Trent Horn out. He does a lot of good stuff. I don't know if he's. It would be nice if he had like a whole playlist of uh, videos about LGBT, all the videos he's done, because there's certainly a good number of videos he has done on this issue. But June is also the month of the Sacred Heart, and so I was in France, and so up in Paris they have the Basilica of the Sacred Heart, um, Sacre Coeur, and at the front this is one of my. I like this. It has the Jesus up here, the Sacred Heart, and it has the Sacred Heart up here in Latin, and so it is a nice church. It's very large. It's a basilica, and then it's got a wonderful view. I don't know if you can actually climb up to the top. There's a church in London that you can climb up to the top. I was in the church at St. Paul's Cathedral, and you can see, and it's got a great view of London in St. Paul's. But here's in Paris, you can see the city. I'm gonna try and see if I can get you any photos of the inside. There's a bishop buried here. And I like this too. I had to get a picture of this. They actually ask that you. I don't know why I posted this one on Facebook. I guess I didn't really do a good job looking through the photos. But they actually have a nice sign that tells you to dress appropriately, which is something we could use in churches in America. And so here's the inside of the church, and this looks like but it's a beautiful, beautiful church, and they have adoration all throughout the day. Um, there's a picture of it on there who is showing something to people. I don't remember exactly what. But it's a beautiful church, and I can't get to the photo. I didn't look through these photos very well. I just kind of uploaded them. But anyways, so let's take a look at this article. This is a Lifesite article. So, of course, it's slippery tactics, as Trent Horn likes to say. But of course, you wouldn't expect anything but I'm going to say nonsense from Father Martin in regards to this. So let's start. As in previous years, Father James Martin has urged Catholics to celebrate quote-unquote Pride Month, saying that, quote, for the LGBT community, unquote, a lot of quotes in this article, it is a, quote, a recognition of the human dignity of a group of people who have for centuries been treated with contempt, rejection, and violence, end quote. So according to James Martin, if this is citing him, the month of Pride Month is all about recognition for people who have been harshly treated. It is a recognition of the harsh treatment that these people have received. It doesn't seem that this is necessarily what Pride Month is about. It seems like it's mostly about parading about and making known who you are. Not recognition of the violence, but just making known who you are. Trent Horn has talked about previously how the original intention of the LGBT community was not to have parades and stuff like this. It was simply to get that recognition. We should avoid doing parades and stuff like this because, we want to first make things seem societally normal. And then we get tiered to the parades and stuff. Amid the rise of LGBT ideology in secular society, the prominence of marking June as, quote, Pride Month has similarly grown. For the Jesuit Martin, they point out the fact that he's Jesuit because, there's a lot of Jesuits who have been known for their nonsense. I think Trent has talked about another Jesuit who's known for his unorthodoxy. For Jesuit Martin, it is important for this to be the case. Quote, Pride Month, he wrote, is, quote, mainly about supporting the fundamental human rights of the Ligbit community. The right to live in safety, the right to be treated as equals, and the right to be fully welcome in society. The fundamental human rights. What is the fundamental human rights that we're speaking about here? Are we speaking about the right to be married? As many like to say, we have a right to be married. That's one of the things, is that it talks about the human rights. So I think that what he's trying to get here is that it's all about humans. It's all about supporting humans. That's what this month is to Martin. That's what this month is about. That's what it is. It's supporting people. But in a way, that's not what this month is about. It's not what it's just about. At least that's kind of what Martin tries to make it seem is. It's all about just, giving people the rights they deserve to be treated as equals. And I'm going to say this. How does the church view this? The church views everyone as equal. All humans are equal. No one is better than another human because of race or sex or anything like that. What it is, and what the church would say about this month is, people are equal. And this identity is not supposed to be celebrated in a month like this. We should be treated equals, yes. Should they be welcome in society? Yes, but how? How should we welcome people into society? And that's the thing, is that should we be allowing this? And here it says, the Catholic Church teaches that homosexual acts are, quote, intrinsically disordered and contrary to the natural law, adding that under no circumstances can they be approved. Again, we cannot approve this pardon me. I'm using headphones here, so I hope it kind of corrects the audio all right. Anyways, we cannot, homosexuality is wrong, the transgender ideology is wrong, and so we can't, it goes against the church's teaching to celebrate this month. That's what it's all about, it goes against church teaching, and especially pride in a way. Pride is, here's another James Martin article. Homosexuality and pride, and celebrating a month that's all about pride, goes against church teachings. And yes, there is an acceptable level of pride. Like, you should be proud of your Catholic heritage. You should be proud of your heritage as, Polish or German. I mean, I'm proud to be Polish. I'm proud to be an American, and I'm most certainly proud of my Catholic faith, to be Catholic. But there is an over-excessive amount of pride in things that don't really matter. You can be over-prideful in your culture. You can be too proud to be an American. You can be too proud to have, a certain heritage. And you can even be too proud to be Catholic. I don't know how necessarily that could work, but my point is, there is an acceptable amount of pride, but we can't just have a whole month dedicated to it in that way, if you will. Anyways, the church also has a special devotion to the Sacred Heart of Jesus in June, which Martin himself noted, as in previous years, that this devotion could easily be aligned with Pride Month. Let's see how he says it. As I see it, the two are complementary, not contradictory. The Sacred Heart teaches us how Jesus loves. Pride Month reminds us whom Jesus invites us to love today. Okay, yes, James Martin is right. We should love everyone. Period. Full stop. Right? I think we can all agree on that. What does Jesus say? Jesus says, love everyone. Love those who hate you. So, but I think how a lot of people say it is that this is a corruption of love. What the devil does is he corrupts what is good, what is of God. And that's kind of what this month celebrates, is a corruption of love. And people try and stretch love into, well, Jesus says love everyone. Yes, but there's certain levels of difference of love. And we can't all just, there's different love. There's the love of marriage, the love that God has for all of us, and that's the most supreme love, the love God has for us. But then there's the love we should have to each and every person, and we can't just corrupt that love into one type of love, into a marital love. So he also sought to distance himself somewhat from the LGBT festival that Pride events tend to be. Again, this is what we're celebrating. We're not just celebrating people. We're celebrating this month to celebrate sin. That's all it has to be put. This pride in sin. Attesting that just because you celebrate Pride Month doesn't mean that you necessarily agree with what every person, every organization, or every float in every parade has to say. I would say it does. Trent Horn has pointed out, well, should Catholics fly the Pride flag? I mean, should Catholics be able to fly, pardon me, I can't speak, fly the Confederate flag? I mean, they don't think that it stands for racism, but for another person, it does. So that's just one point. I agree with Trent on. If we fly one thing, doesn't it mean are we actually supporting what we're supporting? I'm trying to explain it the best I can, but yeah. Giving the month to Pride, pinned the Jesuit, is mainly about supporting the fundamental human rights of the LGBT community, the right to live in safety, the right to be treated as equals, and the right to be welcomed fully in society. And I agree with that. But not fully in the way that, we allow what is wrong, what is unacceptable. And yes, we should welcome people in society. We should make them feel comfortable. I agree. But fundamental human rights does not mean allowing gay marriage. That's not a fundamental human right. So that just what does he means by rights? I like how he uses this human rights, human rights, human rights. It's a big thing. Trans rights are human rights. I'm sure you've heard that one before. And just what is truly human rights? I'd say the fundamental human rights are food, water, and shelter. We need those rights to be filled, not the rights to not the rights to marriage, or even to how people will say, well, it's a right to have children, when in regards to, the marriage of homosexual marriage, pardon me, with adoption and all that. So, for the LGBT person, he added, Pride is not about vanity, but about human dignity, which is completely wrong. It's all about vanity. It's all about making a show of yourself and of this identity. Pride Month is societally promoted as an acceptance of all things related to LGBT ideology, and appears at its heart to be a rejection of traditional Catholic teaching on marriage, morality, and the family, like I said. Pride is also listed by the Church as one of the 7 deadly sins, an aspect often highlighted by clerics who warned against promoting or participating in Pride Month. Again, as I've said, I think I've tried to point that out. I try to distance that because, well, yeah, there's an acceptable amount of pride, but when does it go too far? Martin also condemned the sin of pride. He goes one step to what is, as Trent likes to point out, he goes one step to what is right, but goes 2 steps back to unorthodoxy. He goes one step to orthodoxy, 2 steps back to unorthodoxy. Pride Month is something different. Again, you can argue that it is different, so I'm not going to stick to, well, it's called Pride Month, and that's, pride is a sin. So, anyways, yeah, the rejection and all that, as I said. He encouraged individuals to congratulate young people who declare themselves as LGBT, saying that God wants them to be who they are. Yeah, no. That is not how God creates us. God creates us to search Him. He doesn't create us to necessarily have this disordered desire. And so that's just the one thing. Here we go to this is completely against the church. We should be happy that they do this. No, that it goes against God's design for humanity. Anyways, lamenting the decline in Pride events this year, a marked phenomenon in contrast to 2024, Martin also suggested that such events may be more relevant than ever. Thanks in part to Martin's own activity with his LGBT outreach group, Pope Francis welcomed a large number of LGBT groups at the Vatican in recent years and directly supported Martin's outreach. I agree, there is some outreach we should have, but when does that outreach go too far into maybe not the most orthodox? And the decline since 2024, I think there's a general reason. We can all understand why that decline happened. And I think we know it's mostly in regards to the current administration of, of course, they're kind of more right-leaning, and so they kind of disagree with it, but maybe it is a natural thing that it is declining too. that, maybe people are just less interested or whatever. Um, Anyways, Martin's on record. I think we understand. So, what do I think? Should Catholics celebrate Pride Month? No. No. We shouldn't join in these celebrations. We shouldn't find ourselves in these parades. But should we make outreach and make people feel welcome? Yes. I think that I can agree with that. Martin is right. We should welcome people. But when does that welcoming go too far? It goes too far in saying, I think one thing has to be made clear: gay marriage is wrong, and transgender ideology is certainly wrong. Okay? That's clear. But we should welcome people, make them feel comfortable. I think we understand that. So I'm going to leave it there. I don't hate anyone. Thank you.